Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm so glad you're joining us for this one. Because, well, think about the space you're in right now. You probably have an Apple device near you. Maybe it's in your pocket, or maybe you're even listening on it right now.
Yeah, statistically, it's highly likely.
Right. And you pay a serious premium for that device. You pay for that Apple logo because there's this expectation of, a certain kind of magic, the whole "it just works" philosophy.
Exactly, that implicit promise that it's going to be the smartest, most seamless tool in your life.
But what happens if the brain inside that premium glass and metal device is suddenly, I don't know, years behind the cheap plastic laptop sitting right next to it?
That completely shatters the illusion.
It really does. It devolves from a high-end status symbol into a very beautiful, very expensive paperweight. And today, we're looking at a genuinely terrifying question for the world's most valuable tech company. Is Apple currently sleepwalking into total irrelevance?
It sounds dramatic, but we are unpacking a fascinating, highly critical source today from June 2026. It's titled Netizen, Apple's AI Reckoning, a Ballmer Moment in Cupertino.
Yeah, that title alone is heavy.
Oh, absolutely. And it comes from the blog of Paramendra Kumar Bhagat. He's an author who is deeply focused on the future of what he calls agentic AI.
Which we definitely need to define today.
We will. He also writes a lot about the age of abundance and these entities he refers to as trillion-dollar suns or Solaras.
Wait, I want to stop right there and just define that real quick.
Yeah.
Because understanding what a Solara is really frames this entire deep dive for you listening.
Yeah, it's a crucial concept to grasp.
So Solara is his term for a trillion-dollar sun. It basically means a company that has become so unbelievably massive that its gravitational pull dictates the orbits of entirely different industries.
Right, like Apple. Apple is unequivocally a Solara.
Exactly. I mean, entire global economies exist simply to build apps for the iPhone. Millions of developers rely on that ecosystem. So we aren't just talking about a company missing some minor software trend here.
No, not at all. We're talking about a star potentially collapsing because it completely misunderstands the physics of a brand new universe. Bhagat views AI not as some, cool feature you toggle on in your settings menu, but as a massive civilizational shift.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right.
Because to actually grasp the structural danger Apple is facing today, we first have to look way back at the most famous cautionary tale in tech history.
Oh, you have to talk about 2007.
We do. We have to talk about Steve Ballmer and Microsoft. The author uses this as the entire foundation for his critique of Apple.
Yeah, it's January 2007. Steve Jobs gets on stage and unveils the original iPhone. It's a huge moment.
A literal turning point in human history.
And shortly after that, Steve Ballmer, who is the CEO of Microsoft at the time, is asked about the iPhone on camera, and he physically laughs.
I've seen that clip so many times, and
Right.
it's so painful to watch now.
It really is. He mocks the $500 price tag, which, fair enough at the time. But crucially, he mocks the fact that it doesn't have a physical keyboard.
Right. He genuinely believed that business customers, the enterprise market, would never, ever buy a phone without a tactile keyboard to type their emails.
Because he was looking at the market entirely through the lens of BlackBerry and Windows Mobile, in his world, the physical keyboard was the ultimate productivity metric. If it didn't have plastic keys, it wasn't a serious tool.
And that right there is the mechanism of corporate blindness, right?
Yeah.
Ballmer wasn't a stupid guy. He was brilliant in many ways.
Exactly. He just couldn't see past his own paradigm. He was looking at multi-touch glass and judging it by its failure to meet the standards of the old physical keyboard era.
He totally missed that a dynamic software-based screen meant you could have a million different interfaces. It rendered the static plastic keyboard completely obsolete.
And that exact corporate myopia, that specific blind spot, handed Apple a decade of absolute uncontested dominance in mobile computing.
And so the chilling parallel this memo draws is that critics are arguing Tim Cook's Apple is repeating this exact same error right now with artificial intelligence.
If you connect this to the bigger picture, you start to see how massive financial success in legacy businesses breeds this fatal complacency. It's a psychological trap.
Yeah, let me throw an analogy at you.
Mm-hmm.
Is this kind of like driving a hyper-luxury car going 100 miles an hour, but you're only looking in a rearview mirror?
Oh, I like that.
Like the scenery behind you, the profits, it all looks incredible.
Yeah.
But because you're only looking backwards at your success, you're missing the massive cliff that's right in front of your windshield.
That is exactly what the author is arguing. Apple's services business, the App Store fees, their ongoing iPhone sales, they've delivered these enviable, record-breaking financial results straight into 2026.
So they look at the balance sheet and think, we're doing great.
Right. Record revenues, it buys you a lot of time, the shareholders are happy.
Mhm.
But the memo argues it does not buy you relevance. The success is actually blinding them to the paradigm shift.
But, okay, let me push back on this a little bit.
Yeah.
Because is it truly fair to compare Tim Cook's deliberate, privacy-focused pacing to Steve Ballmer's outright mockery? I mean, Ballmer laughed at the iPhone. Tim Cook isn't laughing at AI.
That's a very fair point.
Right. Apple has always been deliberate. They wait, they let others make the messy mistakes, and then they release something super polished. Isn't that just the Apple way?
It is the Apple way, historically. But the source argues that AI is different. It's not just a new type of screen or a better camera sensor. It's foundational. So what looks like deliberate pacing from the outside might actually be structural paralysis on the inside.
Interesting. So you're saying they can't just wait and bolt it on later,
Uh,
which leads us perfectly from the theoretical danger of
Uh-huh.
complacency directly into Apple's actual first attempt at entering this AI race.
Right. What the author describes as the initial miss.
Yeah, the initial miss. Let's deconstruct the launch of Apple Intelligence.
Yeah.
Because despite all the typical Apple fanfare and the slick presentation, the results were really underwhelming according to the source.
Very underwhelming. The author points out the delayed features, for one, and the capabilities they did show off just felt, I don't know, incremental.
Yeah, incremental is the perfect word. It didn't feel revolutionary. It was like, oh, here's a slightly better way to summarize your emails.
Exactly. But the most glaring critique in the memo, the thing that really exposes their vulnerability, is how heavily Apple leaned on partnerships to make it work.
Specifically, integrating Google's Gemini models. I mean, instead of pioneering their own frontier models, they just outsourced the heavy lifting.
Which is structurally terrifying if you're an Apple shareholder. You have to understand the difference between adding a fun little bolt-on feature and owning a core competency.
Right. Those are two very different things in tech.
Completely different. If AI is the defining technology of the era, and you are relying on your primary competitor Google for that technology, you are in an incredibly vulnerable position.
Wait, Apple partnering with Google for the core AI tech? Let me just try another analogy here. Isn't that like a Michelin star restaurant buying its signature sauce from the diner across the street and then just pouring it into a nicer, sleeker bottle?
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Like, how does that justify Apple's premium pricing to the user? If I'm paying top dollar for the Apple experience, but the actual thinking is being done by Google's brain, what am I even paying for? The aluminum casing.
That's the exact existential threat the source is pointing out. If you don't own the intelligence layer, your hardware just becomes a dumb terminal for someone else's smart software. You lose the ecosystem lock-in.
Wow. And while Apple is busy serving up someone else's sauce, we really have to look at what the competition is cooking up, because according to this memo, it's an absolute frenzy over there.
Oh, the Windows ecosystem is running at full sprint right now.
Yeah, let's detail that aggressive marketing and development on the Windows side. You've got Microsoft, Dell, Qualcomm. They're all moving in lockstep.
They've unified around this concept of Copilot plus PCs. And we really need to break down what that means, because it's not just a fancy sticker on the box.
No, it's a hardware revolution. These are laptops with dedicated NPUs or neural processing units built right into the silicon.
Right, which are optimized entirely for local AI inference, meaning the AI runs on the machine itself, not in the cloud.
And the specific promises of these machines are wild. The memo lists them out.
Yeah.
They are faster, they're inherently more private because the data doesn't leave the laptop, and you have these always available features.
Yeah, things like real-time summarization of your video calls, instantly generating images on the fly, and context-aware assistance.
Meaning the AI actually understands what's on your screen at any given moment. And the craziest part, it all works offline. You can be on a plane with no Wi-Fi, and your AI assistant is still fully functional.
What's fascinating here is that the massive shift in developer mindshare. AI ecosystems are built on third-party momentum. Developers have to want to build for your platform.
And right now, Microsoft is stealing all of that momentum right out from under Apple's nose.
Exactly. Microsoft handed developers a clear, unified standard for AI hardware. And contrast that with Apple. Apple's Mac lineup has had these incredibly powerful M-series chips for years now.
Yeah, the M chips are amazing. They literally have neural engines built into them. They have the raw power.
They do. But the memo argues they have completely failed to match the marketing intensity or the third-party ecosystem momentum of Windows. They have the hardware, but they don't have the narrative.
It's like comparing the Windows ecosystem to this loud, chaotic, but highly productive construction site where they're building a whole new city. And Apple is just quietly sitting in the corner polishing a single brick.
That's a brilliant visualization.
But I have to ask, does marketing intensity actually matter more than the raw power of the M-series chips right now?
In a paradigm shift, absolutely. If developers believe Windows is the platform of the future for AI, that's where the apps get built. The best silicon in the world doesn't matter if nobody is writing the killer software for it.
That makes total sense. And this battle over Copilot plus PCs, it isn't just about laptop sales for the next quarter. The source frames this as the opening skirmish in a much larger war.
The war for the fundamental architecture of future computing.
Yes, exactly. What the author calls Edge AI. We need to really dig into this because it's the paradigm shift of the decade.
So let's define Edge AI based on the source. It simply means running sophisticated AI models directly on the user's devices at the edge of the network rather than in centralized cloud servers.
Right, and the trajectory the author maps out is that it starts with these premium laptops, sure, but it's rapidly moving to phones, to tablets, and eventually it's going to be in all our everyday hardware.
Watches, smart glasses, home appliances, everything will have local AI.
Let's deep dive into the 4 massive benefits of Edge AI that the memo outlines. First, you have lower latency.
Which is crucial. If you ask an AI a question and it has to beam it to a server farm in Nevada and back, there's a lag. Local processing is instantaneous. It feels like a real conversation.
Second is better privacy. If your data never leaves your iPhone, it can't be intercepted or mined by a tech giant.
Huge selling point for consumers right now.
Third is reduce costs at scale. Cloud computing is incredibly expensive. If Apple or Google has to process 1 billion AI requests a minute on their servers, they go bankrupt.
Exactly. You have to offload that compute cost to the device the user already bought.
And fourth, functionality in low connectivity environments, like we mentioned earlier with the airplane example. It just works anywhere.
And here is the great irony of this whole situation. Look at those 4 benefits.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Right. Apple's entire business model is vertical integration. Hardware, software, silicon, all designed together.
Yeah, let me press you on this. If Apple literally designs the M-series chip, they build the physical phone, and they code the iOS operating system, Edge AI should be their absolute home turf.
It should be a slam dunk.
So why the hesitation? Refusing this transition, which the source likens to a tech company in the 80s, stubbornly refusing to adopt the graphical user interface. It just seems almost intentionally stubborn. Why are they dragging their feet?
This raises an important question about the nature of AI. It's not just an app. AI touches every single layer of a company. It touches the hardware design, the software user experience, and critically, the services revenue.
Ah, the services revenue, the golden goose.
Right. Pivoting fully to Edge AI, where a smart agent just does things for you locally, might require cannibalizing their existing, highly profitable cloud services.
Like the App Store.
Exactly. If an AI agent books your flight and your hotel in the background, you never open the Expedia app. You never see the ads. Apple doesn't get their 30% cut of an in-app purchase.
Wow. So they'd have to completely rethink user experiences that have been static and incredibly profitable for a decade. The grid of apps on your iPhone hasn't changed since 2007.
And they're terrified to break it, even if breaking it is the only way to survive the AI wave.
That is profound. And you can clearly see Apple is feeling this pressure, which brings us to their massive pivot attempt in the summer of 2026.
Yes, WWDC 2026, a pivotal moment.
It really was. And it marked the end of an era for the company's leadership, too. Let's set the scene for the listener. This developer conference was effectively Tim Cook's farewell showcase as CEO.
Right, before he handed the reins over to the hardware chief, John Ternus, later that year in September.
So this was Cook's last big swing. Let's detail the specific announcements they made to try and catch up. They rolled out a totally revamped Siri AI.
Finally.
Right, finally. They promised much better improved on-device capabilities, showing they understood the Edge AI assignment at least a little bit.
They also showed off some visual intelligence tools, deeper integration across the whole ecosystem.
And they introduced this hybrid on-device and private cloud architecture, which was a very clever, privacy-first design to handle queries that were too big for the local phone chip.
It was technically impressive, yes.
Yeah.
But we have to note the critic's perspective here from the memo.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a victory lap.
Far from it. Despite all these flashy announcements, the consensus among analysts and enthusiasts was that it still felt like Apple was playing catch-up ball.
I mean, let me ask you, is a revamped Siri enough to win the Edge AI war? Or is that literally like putting a fresh coat of paint on a house when the foundation is sinking into the earth?
The author firmly believes it's the sinking foundation scenario. A better voice assistant is a feature. The competition is building entirely new foundational platforms.
So how much does the change in leadership matter here, going from Tim Cook to John Ternus?
It matters immensely. Think about their backgrounds. Tim Cook is a supply chain savant. He's an operations guy who optimized Apple into a multi-trillion-dollar profit machine.
But John Ternus is different.
Very different. Ternus is a hardware-focused leader. He deeply understands silicon and physical architecture. This transition signals a much sharper, perhaps desperate focus on the intersection of Apple silicon and AI.
Like the board realized, okay, the logistics era is over. We need an engineer to build our way out of this.
Exactly. Ternus's job isn't to increase profit margins by 1%. His job is to fundamentally re-architect the device to house a new kind of brain.
And to truly grasp the weight of John Ternus's new job, we have to zoom out and look at the sheer, overwhelming scale of the AI wave as the author sees it.
This is where the memo gets really philosophical, but in a very grounded way.
Yeah, let's explore the source's boldest claim. And this is a massive statement. The author claims that AI's transformative potential dwarfs the internet, mobile, social media, and crypto combined.
Combined, that's 30 years of tech history.
Right. He's saying this isn't just another feature set you polish around the edges. This is a fundamental re-platforming of human computation.
The way we interact with machines is changing from point and click to delegate and supervise. It's an entirely new layer of abstraction.
Now, we should acknowledge Apple's remaining strengths here. We aren't saying they're going bankrupt tomorrow. They aren't gone.
Oh, definitely not. They have hundreds of billions in cash reserves. They have arguably the strongest brand loyalty on the planet.
Yeah, an absolutely massive installed base of users and incredible engineering talent. That provides them an enormous runway to figure this out.
But the ultimate warning of the memo is this. Premium pricing only holds up when the experience justifies it.
If my phone is dumb compared to my buddy's Android, I'm not paying $1,000 for it next time.
Exactly. Prolonged second mover status will erode the brand. You can't be a luxury brand if your core technology is objectively inferior to the budget option.
So what does this all mean? We've seen tech giants pivot before. We know it's possible. Microsoft did it beautifully under Satya Nadella when they completely missed mobile. They pivoted to the cloud and became dominant again.
Nadella's turnaround of Microsoft is the gold standard.
But does Apple have the cultural DNA to do a Nadella-style pivot? Or are they too trapped by the Apple way of secrecy, control, and vertical silos?
That is the trillion-dollar question. To synthesize the final thoughts here, record revenues buy you time, but they don't buy forever. Apple has survived and reinvented itself before. Look at the transition from the iPod to the iPhone.
Sure, they've cannibalized themselves before.
They have. But to impartially balance the view, missing this specific AI wave carries a much heavier price than any previous tech evolution. Because AI isn't a device. It's the intelligence layer that runs all devices.
So if you miss it, you miss everything.
Precisely. If you miss the replatforming, your hardware just becomes a commodity.
Wow. Okay, to summarize the massive stakes we've uncovered today from this source, Apple is at a crossroads. The transition to Edge AI is going to fundamentally change computing.
It really is.
And for you listening, I want you to think about this practically. The next time you pick up your phone or open your laptop, you are holding the battleground. This shift is going to change how much you rely on the cloud.
It's going to change how private your data truly is.
Exactly. And it will determine whether your device acts like a dumb tool waiting for a command or an active intelligent agent working on your behalf.
And Apple cannot afford to lose that battle.
They really can't. So I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over on your own. The source warns that AI is a fundamental replatforming. If your devices soon become hyper-intelligent, context-aware agents running locally, does the brand of the glass and metal even matter anymore?
That's a scary thought for Cupertino.
It is. If Apple loses that intelligence layer to Microsoft or to Google, do they eventually just become a luxury screen manufacturer for someone else's brain? Think about that the next time you ask your phone a question. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.